Hello everyone and welcome back to another video on my channel. Today we have lots of activity regarding the U-beams, and we can also see more come onto site, and we can see the SPMT, the self-propelled modular transporter, moving around the site, and it looks as though this afternoon they're going to be lifting more U-beams into place. I will also show, due to a lot of demand from people in the comments, I'll show where the tram track will pass through the Curzon Street site, and we'll just have a look at the general progress throughout Curzon Street. So let's get into it. As I always mention, please do join my Discord. We have a lot of very clever people in there. It's a good way to reach me and give me more information. So please feel free to join the Discord and get involved with the community. Right, as we get into today's video, we're going to see a lot of changes, as I mentioned in the first part. Primarily regarding U-beams and also the development of the decking sections, but also a couple of concrete pours and sort of concrete developing over the site into the columns to make the pile caps. We can see the big, I think it's called a boulder crane, with the tracks on it, is offloading some rebar that has been delivered to the site. We can see here that there are now 6 U-beams on the floor, and 2 of them are dramatically smaller. They're at half size. That may give us an indication of where they're going and where they might end up. So yeah, it'd be very interesting as we see the U-beams be put together. Someone in my comments has said there's going to be 438 U-beams in total, which is absolutely mind-blowing considering some of them are 50 tons each. And you've just got to think to yourself, if they put 2, 3, 4 a day up until the end of the year, you know, the station is going to look dramatically different even by Christmas. And that's before they start building the station walls and things like that. I guess we'll have to see how it all progresses. We can also see it across here, the false work section, the scaffolding area. The decking is definitely expanding outwards, allowing them to install more of these U-beams. And I got a close-up here, and we can see there's 4 U-beams now attached to this initial rebar section, and we can see that there's a gap in the rebar, and that is because there will be no U-beams until that next bit of rebar with those blue stripes we can see on the left hand side. That's where they'll start back up. In fact, if I remember to, I'll put a photo in here. This photo basically shows what the plans are for where the U-beams sit, and people have been talking about it in the Discord, and if you relay it over the video you can kind of see what they're going for and how it interlocks with the decking sections. Some people have mentioned in the comments that when I say decking sections, it's not actually, the terminology isn't correct. The diagonal one, for example, is a structural concrete beam, and basically the decking that I refer to is just scaffolding that's been put up for the workers, and the floor will be the same layer as the base layer of the formwork. So yeah, it's actually called a working scaffold. So thank you for that in the comments. Again, this channel is or has started as a say what you see. I don't have any background, but I am starting to learn, and thank you for all of your knowledge. We can see over here they've now finished with that concrete pour, and it looks as though they've got another sort of lattice section which they had here, and they're going to start pouring the concrete or they've got to finish out the lattice section next to it, and then they can have another concrete pour to finish off the rest of that patio area outside the office block. As we look at this blinding layer that's being used as a storage area, it's always very busy now. And another look over at the false work area. What I might do is I might actually see what I can do regarding, basically I just film these videos on my lunch break, but I could do some live streams, and it's quite interesting. I know there's enough content for a 20-minute video or something every day, even though people skip about, that's fine, whatever. But sometimes the most interesting part is actually watching the workers work to get an idea of the processes. So I could start doing that. We can see a lot of the rebar starting to go up here. I'm going to guess by the end of this week they will be starting to tie it all together. And maybe next week they'll put the concrete formwork, like the one above it, up. Even the one on the right hand side, the top right, that's had a lot of progress since yesterday. We'll get some close-ups of the SPMT very shortly. A look over at that tower crane base. It's getting very close to the day where that's being delivered now. The 4th of July, so we've got about 10 days and we'll see the second tower crane being delivered to site. The 4th of July. I will try my very best to get some content of that. We can see the concrete formwork has gone up around the first one of those pile caps over there. The top left one has got the formwork around it. They haven't started the rebar on the bottom left one just yet. They've been prioritising getting the others done, which is fair enough. And again, we can see the blinding layer has been put down, and they're starting to basically tidy it up and get ready for the rebar sections to start on this area. There on the right hand side is the third tower crane base, which will be delivered towards the end of July. So within 1 month in July, we're going to see 2 new tower cranes. That's the big white crane that we can see further to the left of this shot down the site. So to have 2 more of those, that will be very impressive. And I'm almost certain at this point, despite disagreeing with my comments, that it's going to go in that one on the left hand side there, in that rebar with the 4 squares in the corners. I'm pretty certain that's where it's going to go. We can see the starts of the rebar going up for the columns against this back wall. These are making good progress. And they haven't poured the concrete in that one with the formwork up just yet, although I'm sure that is coming imminently. Again, more and more rebar up here. Lots and lots and lots of rebar going down. And they've put a blinding layer under the piles, the uncut piles at the top. It's rare they do it before they actually cut the piles. Usually they cut them first, that's the first thing they do, but evidently not up here. There's limited room around here, so I wonder how they're going to get that crane in to with the pile cutter on. I'm sure they've got a way. They might have to just do it above and lower it down. Or they can do what they seem to do with the other one and use some sort of industrial power washer to very, very slowly get rid of the concrete on top of the pile cap. Or the pile, even. Look over at the storage area towards the top of the site. Excavators working. What they use is these big mounds here at the top of the site we can see being excavated. That is material that was dug out around the piles when the original pile was in the ground. They're then now digging it up, putting it in those hoppers, and that is being used down site to effectively fill in or re-level the ground. So a lot of those white concrete squares we can see, they're pile caps, and they will actually be covered completely and underground. For example, under every single column here, we can see these concrete columns is pile caps under all of them, and then just on the top of all the pile caps we can see the formation of a little bit of rebar, and that is the foundation of what becomes a column here. So that's where that dirt goes. I didn't know that for a long time, but thank you to my comments for explaining that as well. As we fly over here towards the columns that of rebar that haven't started yet, we can see a dump truck dumping a lot of sort of gravel material. We just caught that at the bottom of the screen. I might have been too late to talk about it. And we can see the U-beams again. I did want to mention, again, I see things that I don't see when I'm out there, once I've got it home on my big screen, is there's uncut piles in the middle of them rebar sections. I'll mention that when we go back there later. We can see the amount of these scaffolding false work sections going up. Obviously it's a priority at the moment because they need to do this to effectively fit the U-beams, but there's a lot of that going on. This is the route down to the tram track from the site. So this is the next section they'll be working on. They've started to close off that first lane of the road. Again, I really hope people enjoy these videos. When I'm there filming, people come up to me and ask me basically how I'm doing and thank you for making the videos. And that is really good to hear. So I'm glad you all basically enjoy that. And yeah, I hope I can grow this channel and as many people as possible can see the progress of HS2. I know it gets a lot of negative slander, but honestly, it really will transform this area. So yeah, thank you for your support. Please do subscribe if you haven't, and we've got a very interesting couple of months and years ahead. Looking down on the left hand side, we can see the tarmac has now been laid. This road is still not open, or is it open? Oh, it is open. Look, we can see cars on it today. So this road is now back open. I know it's meant to be the 19th, but I think today is the first day they've actually had the barriers down. You can't drive down here just yet, but you can drive across it. Oh no, you can't. Okay, my apologies everybody. Please ignore what I just said. I've just saw the scaffolding up on the other side, so they must be getting rid of it this afternoon. I don't know how long you have to leave tarmac to set, but I'd imagine in any regard it's pretty much almost done. And then hopefully they'll move on through this next section. I do just want to take this moment of flying over the unstarted tram track to say thank you all for your support lately. It doesn't go unnoticed. I appreciate every subscriber, and I'd like to make these videos for years to come, so please do keep the support up. This is, by the way, the route the tram will take under where that shutter is, underneath the railway line. That is where it will flow into Curzon Street, and then underneath where the U-beams have been placed so far. Looking over at the blinding layer again, we can see that big crane picking up rebar, feeding it elsewhere. And this is what I wanted to touch on earlier. These lozenge-shaped concrete columns in the middle of the screen here. The shorter U-beams are going to use this section that we can see with false work up here. They may be used to go from the structural concrete beam, where we can see it at the top of the screen where the concrete's being poured, onto this intermediate sort of bit of false work section, and then a longer beam to go across the other side, because obviously as this is a diagonal beam, it gets further away from the straight line beams the further it goes. So that may mean that it might have to be done in two separate stages. So that'll be interesting to see when they start that. You can see the decking has not been a priority as of the last couple of days up here, but they've got a lot of decking to use before they get there, and they can throw it up pretty quick whenever they need to. Looking over at the water attenuation tank, a lot of sort of steel beams or pipes have been introduced to this area. There's also those concrete blocks. We see them sometimes around tower crane bases. So something interesting is definitely going on here, and there's a flurry of activity here today. So that'll be interesting to see very shortly what they start to do with it. We can also see them smoothing out some of that dirt that they're moving from the top of the site. And so for sometimes they use gravel, or not gravel, but that sort of clayey, silverish, metallic looking sediment. I'm sure it all has different reasons, whether it's like sort of load capacities or just how much it expands in heat. There's all sorts of reasons why they use what they do, but it's interesting to see it nevertheless. As we fly over towards the formwork section, where they build it and store it on the left hand side, and I guess they store it on the right hand side in the middle over by the taxi rank. This bit here is going to be a taxi rank. We can see here they continue to pile on the formwork on these large sections here. They look like a very large pile cap, but in fact, actually, I think they mimic more of the structural concrete beam on one of those decking sections. That's what it looks like more to me than a pile cap, especially the longer ones. So yeah, it will be interesting to see that next large concrete pour. Obviously, they've got to take the formwork down from the one they poured a few days ago. Going back over the site here now, we will go over to Curzon number 2 viaduct, etc. At the end of the video. However, I will point out they're still not back at work. I'll touch on that in just a second. Looking over at the water attenuation box from this side now, you can see they're done with all those columns that they made, those mini concrete columns they poured. And just trying to see where they're going to put those steel beams. They seem to be resting them on that log for now, nearest to us. But again, I guess it'll become evident pretty quickly what they're doing because there's so many workers there. But yeah, stumped me today. As we fly over towards the left, this is something I didn't notice before. This piece of formwork over on this final rectangle column, it looks as though it's actually got slits in the top. It could even possibly be 4 different pieces of formwork separated out. I know, in fact, it's got like a line of like a beam on the top. I think I could see that it wasn't. And since yesterday, they've also finished the decking or scaffolding section across that bit of formwork this side. So we're seeing it go up either side of the main 2 that were started on. It's amazing how much has happened. And it's only going to speed up. Imagine when they've got 4 tower cranes on the site instead of 1. They can do 4 big lifts at any one time. And this tower crane is in use all day long. I'll watch you going up and down during the videos. Like crazy. I did then just want to watch a bit of the activity on site and see where they're going to place this beam that was being lifted up by the tower crane. That is actually going on the edge. We can already see one placed either side of this decking section, and then one at the front and one at the back of each side. And it looks as though it's going to go down horizontal to the one that's already gone down. Might help the U-beam slide on when they have to go near those sections. We may well, in fact I'm sure we will, see U-beams coming off the other side of that diagonal one over towards those other full spoke sections. And then the final thing I really wanted to touch on today was they haven't started work back over on the Curzon #2 viaduct section or anything over the canal at the moment. As I mentioned, there was an incident last week where not actually on Curzon #2 viaduct, I've found out now, it was actually over at Delta Junction, but the whole of the team across the Midlands area isn't currently at work, and I know a guy that works on some of the supply chain, and he's going to let me know when they get back to work. So I hope everybody is okay, and I hope they can get back to work safely very shortly. We can see that beam has gone in there, and obviously we can see they're going to install quite a few of them along there, so that is looking all good. As we fly over here, again we can see that rebar and that gap from that rebar to the other rebar, and we can see various people putting more decking section up. This is a more immediate fix that they need. They need to get this decking up on this next section of force work way quicker than on the diagonal one, as obviously there is not much decking left on this section, and we saw this was slower to put up in the first place. It looks like a more intricate design as this area is meant for higher load. So yeah, I better get a wriggle on with that. You can see the SPMT in the back. Also, I know this is totally irrelevant, but I sat on a train for about 40 minutes on the way home and it just didn't move due to the heat. So I hope everybody that's travelling is taking water with them, because our infrastructure at the moment is just not built for this change of weather. So I hope you all are doing well. I also noticed right at the end there was a blinding layer underneath that concrete, those concrete columns that was new. Again, you have to watch these videos a couple of times because there's so many changes that we just don't notice every day. And again, the video is going to finish over here, looking over the BBV section of the site. Those trucks on the right look slightly different to how they did before. So there's some activity over here, but again, the workers are not back on site just at the moment. So I wish them a speedy recovery and a speedy get back to work. Well, as there's not much going on over here to commentate on, I'm going to say, in fact, I'm actually not. I've got a little bit more footage to show you. Apologies, I thought that was the end of the video. So I'll stick with you then, I guess. I was ready to sign the video off, but I've just seen on my timeline we've got some close-ups of the SPMT coming up. Again, this decking section on the viaduct supports should go up pretty quickly, and we can see a lot of king lifting material, king lifting trucks in the vicinity. I'm also going to share some photographs at the end of the video, sort of tagged on as a bonus, of deliveries to site that I've seen that I'm not sure what they are. If anyone could explain those at the end of the video, that would be brilliant. And also where we can expect to see them go. But I'll share them right at the end of the video. Flying back over towards the taxi rank and the formwork preparation section. And here I just wanted to get a closer look over at the SPMT and also the movements of this big crane. Typically when they use this big, the orange crane, it means they're lifting something like more important and heavy. So I thought I would capture that footage. Again, we can see that those U-beams towards us are about half the length. And this is the SPMT lined up with two new U-beams that it's going to take. This video was filmed at about 2:30, so they might try a lift today, but they might save it for tomorrow. We will just have to see. Now, unfortunately, and this pains me just as much as you guys, I am away after Thursday and Friday this week. I'll be back Monday next week. So please do join me on my return. But yeah, so tomorrow's video will be a little bit earlier than usual, but it will also be the final video of the week for me. And then I will be back on Monday next week. Well, thank you all very much for watching. Again, your support is greatly appreciated. Any comments, please leave them below. And yeah, let's have a look at these photos before I end the video. But thank you for watching. The first photo I want to talk about is this is a cross section of the U-beam from the ground level just next to the Woodman pub. I just wanted to show this to give people a perspective from the ground of exactly what these U-beams look like, and they are huge. They really are massive. So this is just a perspective of that from the ground. And then this second photo is a delivery I saw coming into site on the back of a Scania truck. It looks kind of like a U-beam. It's nearly as long. It was massive, but it's made of steel. So if anybody knows where this has gone or what it is or what it's been used for, any information would be greatly appreciated. Thank you all again for watching.